Hello again, and welcome to Jess Lahey's Frequently Asked Gift of Failure Questions. So last week I answered a question about how to help perfectionist kids sort of worry less, do more. I talked a little bit about helping kids not worry so much over the end product, but focus more on the process. And thank you so much for watching that video, because between YouTube and the posting at Grown and Flown's Facebook page. Grown and Flown is a blog I absolutely adore for helping parents of older kids sort of get them on their own 2 feet and out there in the world. Between those two places, it looks like the video's been watched, I don't know, like 30,000 times or something crazy like that. So thank you so much. I'm trying to get through all of the frequently asked questions, and then I will get to the sort of more nitpicky questions. As promised, this week's question is about how to help kids care more, do more, stop coasting. I get a ton of questions from parents, and in a page-long question, they tell me all about their kids and about how smart they are and how much potential they have, and the fact that they're just not working up to their potential. And yeah, that's incredibly frustrating. All of us at times have seen our kids sort of just coast, just do what's barely enough to get by. And hello, I've done that too, so I know what it's like, and I'm sure we've all done that. So there are a couple ways to come at this question. I will come at it head first. The way to make a kid care more is to help them learn what's relevant about what they're learning. Show them what's relevant about whatever. Let's say it's geometry. Let's say a kid is in geometry class. This is, by the way, what the best teachers do. But the best teachers not only have relationships with their kids, they connect with their kids interpersonally, they also connect with their kids, connect the learning that they're doing, the teaching they're doing in the classroom, and the material and the learning and these abstract things to the world out there. So for example, let's say you're in geometry class and there's just been an earthquake in Peru, and the geometry teacher or the parent can talk about the fact that, you know what, I was watching this news program and I saw that in Peru, where they had this incredible earthquake, that the only bridges that were still standing were the ones with arches, and all the ones that were rectangles have fallen down. Why do you think that would be? And the really good teachers can help kids understand that, well, the reason that is that, look, the Romans used arches for their aqueducts because arches are strong. And you know what? The people who built those arches were into geometry, and some of these people who had made these bridges in Peru, maybe the ones that have the arches, they sat in a geometry class just like you, and they learned that arches are really, really strong. And in their minds, those kids, those baby architects said, those baby engineers said, someday I'm going to build really strong bridges with arches in them, and I won't use those rectangles because those aren't strong enough. And then they go out and they build them. So that's what really good teachers do. They help kids understand that learning is relevant, and they help them understand their own self-efficacy. It's this term in education about helping a kid understand that the actions they take, the stuff they learn, the things they do can affect not just their own world, but the world out there, that they can make a difference in the world. That's how you engage a kid. You help a kid understand that this thing in front of them is important, because it doesn't just impact their world, it impacts everyone, and it impacts their place in the world. So that's the head-on way to deal with relevance. Is it easy to make everything relevant? Well, no. It's not very easy to make math facts relevant, but you can do it. It's not very easy to make the quadratic formula relevant, but you can do it. If I can teach Latin and make Latin relevant for kids, then you can too. And the way you can make anything relevant. And there are these through lines that can help you make things relevant. I often recommend videos, things like on YouTube, there's a guy named Michael Stevens that has video series called Vsauce. You could go watch Mythbusters. You could go watch Emily Grassley's Brain Scoop on YouTube. All of these educators, Smarter Every Day, all of these educators, what they do is they take abstract concepts and they make them relevant for kids. And in the, or Vi Hart, watch Vi Hart about math, Vihart. All of these educators are really, really good at doing what like I said, what really great teachers do, which is to make learning relevant. Okay, there's the head-on way to handle it. Now, when I go talk at schools, here's the fun part. When I go talk at schools, what I often get to do is I get to talk to the kids during the day, and then I get to talk to the teachers in the afternoon, and I get to talk to the parents in the evening. And when I talk to the kids, I say to them, look, those of you who are coasting, and you know who you are, those of you who are coasting, you may be learning stuff, but you're not becoming intelligent at the same rate as your classmates, because the way the brain works is this. You're not born with some fixed amount of intelligence. You're born with the capacity to become intelligent. The more connections you make in your brain, the smarter you will become. This is the whole backbone behind Carol Dweck's mindset. Please go read Carol Dweck's mindset. It's amazing. The smarter you, the harder you work, the more you challenge yourself, the more things you try that are outside your comfort zone, the more what are called desirable difficulties that you try, the smarter you will become. So when I look at those students and I say, look, those of you who are coasting, you're learning stuff, but you're not becoming smarter at the same rate as that other kid in the class who raises her hand, who tries the challenge problems, who goes to extra help and tries stuff that's just out of her comfort zone. The one who doesn't give up when you get home, and I know you know what this looks like, you know, the kid who comes home with homework or whatever and a group project, and they realize that they learned how to do it this way, and maybe they learned how to do it this way, but the teacher has given them some problems in that homework set that are just beyond their comfort level. And some kids will flip out and give up, but it's the kids who can take a breath and persist, the kids who can take a breath and tackle those desirable difficulties and really get that knowledge into their head. It's called encoding. Your brain, when you face something that's a little bit more difficult than something you've seen before, your brain has to actually move that from short-term memory to long-term memory in a process called encoding. That's how you get smarter. That's how you learn stuff for the long term. So helping kids understand that is important. But here's how I take that a little bit further and how I come at that from another perspective. Let's phrase this question of how you make your kid work harder a little bit differently. Let's say you have a kid who's coasting, who isn't working up to their potential, and it's infuriating to you. I know how it feels sometimes to watch your kid just not work up to their potential. I would love for you to take a breath. And instead of getting upset with your kid again and nagging your kid about pushing harder, taking the challenge problems, you know those kids that won't do the extra credit problems because, well, I don't have to do them. They're optional, right? Why would I do the extra credit problems? They're hard. Instead of bugging your kid about why they're not doing that, I want you to pause for a second and think about this. If you're asking your kid to do stuff that's challenging, if you're asking your kid to make themselves uncomfortable by putting themselves out on a limb, doing things that are more challenging for them, I need you to ask yourself, do you show them that you can do that too? Do you model that behavior for them? I had a mother in an audience once say to me, how do I get my kids to read for fun? And while you're at it, could you make a list for me of really, really challenging books that are fun that my kid will want to read? And yeah, if you can come up with that list, be sure to send that my way, because that's like a magic list. The first question I had to ask her was, well, do they see you read for fun? And she had to admit, no, her kids don't see her read for fun. And she had all kinds of reasons. She's busy. You know, work is overwhelming. When she gets home, she just wants to put her feet up and watch television. And I get that. But I don't understand. I can't really help. If your message to your kid is reading is important and it's how we learn and it's how we explore worlds that we can't get to ourselves, and it's how we expand our vocabulary. And by the way, it's just fun. If we're not showing our kids that, I don't really understand why we can expect them to believe us when we say it. In the same way that last time around in the last video said, when we tell kids that what we really care about is the learning, and then we model for them that actually, no, sorry, what we actually care about are the grades, I don't really know how you expect your kid to believe you when you say you care about the learning. They see that that's not the case. They see that we're not being honest about that. So if you're coasting, if you have gotten a little too comfortable in your life, if you have not tried anything recently that scares you a little bit, then maybe you need to think about that. I got to take guitar with my older son, and it was really humiliating and embarrassing and hard. but I became a little smarter. I'm not a terribly good guitar player, but I think, a little smarter than I was before I tried that. After I read Carol Dweck's Mindset, I got really, really upset about the fact that I let a math teacher tell me that I just wasn't good at math. That I let that sit there for so long, and I let that be who I was. And it wasn't until I was in my 40s and I read Carol Dweck's Mindset, and I went back and took Algebra 1 in my 40s. And was it hard? Yeah, because math is hard. Not because I stink at it, but because math is hard for everyone at some point or another. And I let myself sit with that. I let myself get frustrated, and I learned Algebra 1. And you know what? I'm not bad at math. I'm not. Sorry. I'm not going to name that teacher, but you suck. I'm not bad at math. How dare you tell a child they're not good at math? You make up their destiny. It's so infuriating to me. So before you go bugging your kid about not being brave and not trying things that are scary for them, then I think you need to bug yourself a little bit about not being brave and not trying things that are scary for you. One last thing. In Gift of Failure, the chapter that's on grades is not really a chapter on grades. It's really a chapter about goals. It's a chapter about how if we let our kids set goals, and we do the same, and we let them see us doing the same, then our kids can learn that goals are important. And it's not just important to have goals, it's important to have goals that are a little bit frightening, because it's only by pushing ourselves a little bit more that we really achieve the good stuff. My kids have seen me push myself toward a goal that it took me 5 years to achieve. It had to do with publishing somewhere that was really important to me, and I kept getting rejected, and it took me a long, long time to get there. So when I finally got it, it was really, everyone understood that it was a big accomplishment, and I shared the frustrations. I shared what I was changing and doing differently. So it meant a lot to my kids and to me when I finally achieved that goal. When you come home from work and you've really screwed up during the day, rather than keep that a secret from your kids in some vain hope that your child will still think that you're perfect because they know we're not perfect, why don't you share that with your kids over the dinner table? If you sent that email back and you hit reply all instead of reply, and now you have a lot of people who are really pissed off at you at work, why don't you ask your kids advice about how to deal with that? I think kids like to be asked. They also like to be invited in to solve your problems. It also is a huge learning opportunity for kids to understand that we need to work really hard to be better people too, and to learn and to become and to evolve, and that we're not just asking them to do it, that we're willing to actually put our own fears aside and do the same, that we're willing to model for them what we say is important to us. Put our money where our mouth is. All right, that's enough of a lecture for today. I hope I haven't pissed you off too much, and I hope there has been something helpful for you here. Next week, I will answer another frequently asked question that I get that lands in my email box, one of the big questions I get when I go out and talk to parents. And until that time, thank you, and I hope you'll share the video. I hope you'll subscribe to this Jess Lahey YouTube channel. And until then, keep emailing me questions. There's a contact form at my website, jessicalahey.com. You can find me at Twitter at Jess Lahey. So go ahead and keep the questions coming so I can keep answering them, because this is fun. Thanks so much. Bye.